Hey everyone, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. It's a Mission Monday. You know what the mission is? Get to the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about that for the Minnesota Vikings. Their draft class, they're getting mixed grades across the board, but at the end of the day, I love what one person said about the draft grades overall, and we'll talk about that next, coming up on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey everyone, it's a Mission Monday on the Ron Johnson Show. I'm Ron Johnson. This is Locked On Sports Minnesota. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Just visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. That's FanDuel.com/Locked On to get started. And remember, NBA playoffs are still going, so there's a lot of bets out there, people. And the Heat, a team that lost the playing game, is now up again in their series against the Knicks. I don't know, people. Jimmy Butler, you might want to bet on him to go 20-plus every game because this guy is amazing right now in the playoffs. So you can't bet on the Timberwolves, all you Minnesota fans. So jump on a former Timberwolves back. I know some of you might not like him, but the man gets buckets. But as I bring my producer into the show, Sam Ekstrom, we're going to talk about the draft weekend. We got a loaded show for you today, draft weekend. Also, disappointing Minnesota sports playoff runs, I guess we'll call it. Wolves, Wild, and there's teams that won. Seattle Kraken beat the Avalanche. I mean, come on. The Heat, they were the 8th seed. They won. The Lakers, the 7th seed, they won. Like, why can't the Timberwolves do it? Why can't the Timberwolves do it? This is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam Ekstrom. Sam, Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings had a draft this weekend, as well as the rest of the NFL. But when you look at their draft pick, Sam, round one, Jordan Addison with the 23rd pick. Mekhi Blackman, cornerback out of USC. So they doubled up on USC. And there was a theme there. They doubled up on USC. They doubled up on LSU. The next pick, 4th round, Jay Ward, safety out of LSU. Corner, they're turning into a safety. Where have we heard that one before? Cam Bynum. Vikings have done that before with Cam Bynum, and it worked out very well. So Jay Ward coming from DBU at LSU, he's gonna be like the honey badger. You know, he's gonna be a Swiss Army knife. Put him in the box. Can he cover? Yes. Play cornerback in the SEC, so the kid clearly can cover. But now you add another weapon into that defense with Brian Flores, who clearly wants to play some mixed coverages, wants to play a lot of man. So why not go get a safety that play cornerback? Because now you got Cam Bynum and him. If you want to go zero. Which people, if you don't understand that means there's no safety help. Zero. That means, what do? Maybe I blitz Harrison Smith. Maybe I put Cam Bynum one-on-one with the tight end. Maybe I bring in Jay Ward. He goes one-on-one with a running back or tight end. And then we don't have no help. But we're going to get after this quarterback with my 6 other rushers. You go 5 wides, I'm going to rush 6. You only got 5 blockers for my 6 rushers. Somebody better get home. And hopefully the quarterback can run. But we'll see. I'm getting ahead of myself. We got Roy, nose tackle out of LSU. So another big pickup. We got Jaron Hall, quarterback BYU. That's the one for me. That was a trade from San Francisco. I personally, Sam, that's the one for me that I am not a fan of. But again, and that's because of Kirk Cousins. That's more of like 5th round pick. Let's see what we get out of this kid. And again, maybe I'm looking at the height, 6'1". I'm being like the rest of the world. Oh, 6'1". That's not a prototypical quarterback. I was in love with that 6'6" kid out of Stanford. But you know what? It's not always about size. 6'1", this kid actually might be good eventually from BYU. Very smart, clearly. Good head on his shoulders. And then there's Dwayne McBride, running back out of UAB. Again, that was another with the trade from San Francisco. That's another pick, honestly, for me, Sam. Mo Ibrahim was out there as a free agent. The Lions offered him $100,000 to come in. So clearly that's basically a 7th-round pick for Mo Ibrahim. I don't know if it was the Achilles. I don't know if it's the age. I do know Dwayne McBride is younger. He's 21, whereas Mo is about to be 24, 25. Is coming off an Achilles injury from the year before, had a bad ankle injury this season. They held him back in a few games. So there's a lot there. But, Sam, I don't know. Overall, what do you think of the draft class?
Yeah, I think they went for high positional value with wide receiver, cornerback, defensive back with Ward, who sounds like he can kind of be a wild card. He can kind of play some nickel, some safety, some corner. He can play all over the place. Roy, defensive tackle, they needed help there. And I like the quarterback, Ron. I know we disagreed on McKee.
Yep.
And we might disagree here on Jaren Hall, because I think that what he can do is so different from Kirk Cousins that fans are going to fall in love with this guy. And it's obviously not for this year. This is a draft and stash situation, where they're going to be evaluating him very closely in practice to see if maybe, just maybe, they can entrust him with the future if Kirk Cousins is not extended after this year. And I think that's a big if Kirk Cousins comes back. So I like Hall. Again, we won't know. We won't have any resolution on that until 2024 at the earliest. And McBride, I think, adds something to your running back room. I think that you've got a bunch of capable running backs. Still don't know what happens with Dalvin Cook. It's hard to be overly in love when you only have, 1 or 2 picks in the first 2 days of the draft. Day 3 guys are always a bit of a flyer. But I like that they added cornerback depth. I like that they added wide receiver depth. So I like where they chose to invest those picks in the early rounds.
Yeah, there's one thing. The one Jordan Addison pick, to me, that's a home run. It's a guy that's going to come in, can catch balls, no question asked, can get open, has the speed to create separation, has the speed to take the top off along with KJ Osborne, has the ability to not let coverage always shade Justin Jefferson. This is a Biletnikoff winner, kid that almost had 1,600 yards and 17 touchdowns in one season as a sophomore at Pitt. So this is a kid that is really good, catches the ball with his hands in traffic, can run the bubble screen, can run the middle screens. Like he's a guy that you can do a lot of things with in this situation. Now, is Justin Jefferson a blocker? No. So I don't know how much bubble, because like Adam Thielen was a blocker. We know Laquan Treadwell was a blocker. KJ Osborne is a blocker. Not to say Justin Jefferson can't block. I just don't see that being a part of his repertoire. And so if you're running bubble screens, it's opposite, which actually might work in your favor, because if you put him and KJ Osborne on the right, you put Justin Jefferson on the left, the linebackers and the safeties are going to shade to Justin Jefferson's side to try to eliminate some of those quick hitting routes if he's one-on-one. And if you have TJ Hawkinson on that side, so you could run a bubble to the right to Jordan Addison with KJ Osborne blocking outside. And so now you have a true one-on-one situation where you're probably going to go, they're not going to zone off or double cover, triple cover the Addison Osborne side. So I could see a lot of things working there with the bubble screen, because you saw it on his highlights from college. He runs a really good bubble screen. And for people to understand, it's not an easy route to run, because you have to drop that foot and then get parallel right away. You're taking 3 to 4 hard steps before you even look back for the ball. So it's like you're trusting because you can't see what's in front of you. You're trusting the cornerback, or the cornerback's blocked. You're trusting your receiver is going to take the most dangerous man. And when I say that, if there's 2 guys there, sometimes the safety shoots, you got to take him and you leave your receiver one-on-one with the corner and hope, because the safety shot, he knew the corner had off coverage. So that corner's back a little bit for you to catch it and keep going. But that's where you see guys get blown up. But I think Jordan Addison is a nice addition piece to this that can be a home run hitter for the Minnesota Vikings in this offense. And then you look at the third round with Mekhi Blackmon. The only question mark I had there was that there were guys like Kelee Ringo still out there. But he did drop. Everybody originally had him like, second round pick. And as people drop, other people start, well, what's going on? I mean, we know he's freakishly athletic. We know he's big. We know he's fast. But he did have issues in zone coverage. Is he smart enough to play zone? We know he can play man. There's a lot of guys that can run with the guy and play man, but can he play zone? So I know there's question marks there, but the Eagles took him. So I'm like, oh Lord, here we go. This defense got better. They also took 3 other Georgia Bulldogs, Nolan Smith, you pointed out Jalen Carter, and now they have Kelee Ringo. So, and they had 2 from the year before, and Nakobe Dean, and then they also had Jordan Davis. So they have 5. They potentially could have half their defense be Georgia Bulldogs, like literally.
Wow.
Championship college Georgia Bulldogs will be 5. And there's only 11 players on the field, people. So 5 of the 11, that's almost half for those mathematicians, are possibly going to be Georgia Bulldogs. I don't know if we've ever seen that, but that's crazy. I feel like with the Minnesota Vikings getting 2 LSU kids now, you got Justin Jefferson, you got potentially Danielle Hunter. I mean, this could be an LSU type of team. I mean, who knows where this is going? You also have the USC. I don't think we have a lot of USC guys on this team, but you doubled up there. But I do like the Jay Ward pick as well. That's the next one I was going to talk about a little bit. And sorry, the Mekhi Blackmon. The one thing about him, he knows how to play man coverage. He knows how to hit. He's not afraid to come up and make the tackle. He's an aggressive defensive back, and so he does fit. I love the persona when you check his online Instagram persona. He's a ninja. Like, he calls himself a ninja. He wears the ski mask every once in a while. So you got to have that swagger as a DB. He's a guy willing to take on the challenge of any receiver, because people question like his size. He went up against some 6'3", 6'5" receivers, and he played well against both. So he doesn't have to be 6'2". Like, I think he's just fine where he's at. So that's one thing, when you look at the receivers he played against, he's played against 6'3", 6'5", and did well against both. You can go research that yourself. But Mekhi Blackmon, I do like that pick. That adds a cornerback, potentially your starting cornerback, opposite Byron Murphy. Byron Murphy can go into the slot. Jay Ward can come in and play in the nickel. Depending on who you're playing, how you're setting in. And you still have a Caleb Evans, who's probably going to be the guy to come in when you push the other guy into the nickel. And a Caleb Evans had a really good season last year, coming back from an injury, so going to have to make sure he's healthy and ready to go. But I liked him when they drafted him last year in the 4th round. I said he's a potential starter, and he was. He just got hurt, and it did not go his way. If he doesn't have a concussion, who knows what that looks like for him in the rest of that season, other than because Duke Shelley got the Caleb Evans snaps. The Caleb Evans, that would have been his spot. And we would have got a chance to see him in full flourish mode and just what he would have done. But again, on this Mission Monday, man, Super Bowl, that's what this is about. And so when you're thinking about Super Bowl, I feel like, other than the quarterback, running back, because I feel like they're pretty much set there. I feel like they got 4 guys, and again, low picks, so they have a ton of picks this year. But I feel like with the Roy pick at nose tackle, the safety pick at Ward, Mekhi Blackmon, and Jordan Addison, I feel like they added 4 pieces of the puzzle that really are going to be good. Sam, here's another one. When you look at undrafted free agents really quick before we jump into because with the second segment, we're going to talk a little bit more football second segment, people. Like, this is going to be a full week of football. I got a Santana Moss interview coming up this week, so I'm looking forward to that with Santana Moss. Got to figure out who else we're going to get on. I know we got Spaeth, Matt Spaeth, former tight end, Pittsburgh Steelers, former Golden Gopher. So gonna figure out if we get him on this week, if we go with the draft pick, because I do have some connections to some of these draft picks and these free agents the Vikings have. So figuring out what we're gonna do this week, people. But it's gonna be a football loaded week of interviews. But you're not gonna want to miss the Santana Moss one. But before we jump into the second segment, Sam, undrafted free agents. That's a big one for the Vikings, with the lowest number of picks that we've seen in a while for the Minnesota, especially early day one, even day 2 guys, but day 1 for sure, only 2 picks. Where's the Lions? Lions had 6 picks.
6 in the top 100, right?
Yeah, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 thirds. Like, that's crazy. We don't know what they're going to be. And to pay off the T's early on, draft grade, Sam, because people are going to say, what do you want to give the Vikings draft grade? Don't give them a grade. You don't know. You don't know, because people said Justin Jefferson in the Vikings draft grade before. I think they gave him like a B. Now, if you redo it, you're like, damn, that was an A. For sure, that was an A. Like, don't give me that. Like, oh, well, they got a C- because they only had this many picks and they didn't really get. I don't know. I think it was Jay Feely, maybe. I can't remember who tweeted it, but don't give like these grades. Like, I get it. It's for TV. You have to talk about them. You have to kind of evaluate the talent versus who they pick. Like the Lions, for instance, their draft grade is actually getting knocked down. They got a lot of picks, but people feel like they reached on Jack Campbell. Which I believe. Like, I've watched him against Michigan and against Illinois. He's not fast enough to run with some of these running backs in space. He's not fast enough to chase some of these running backs down, like an Eric Kendricks, like an Anthony Barr. He's not like a Ray Lewis. He's not that guy. He's really good. He's a good hard-nosed, take on the fullback type of guy. Like him and CJ Ham are going to collide. But if he gets out in space, Dalvin Cook's going to run away from him 10 times out of 10. Like, he doesn't have lateral foot speed. But he is a hard-nosed hitter. So maybe the Lions have a plan to just make him like a Mo backer, where he's just going to pound, and take on the guards, take on the centers, eat up that extra person so the other linebackers can make the play. I don't know. We don't know what Dan Campbell, but he does fit Dan Campbell. He's a hard-nosed hitting kid, but he's not fast. So people feel like he'd have been there in the second round, and the running back for sure would have been there in the second round. And so people feel like they reached with those first round picks and didn't have a plan. Like they could have traded back and gotten more picks maybe on day one, because for those first, somebody would have probably given them 2 2s or a 2 and a 3. And then you still have more picks, and you still have them, like you said, Sam, in the top 100, maybe top 115. But some of the undrafted guys, really quick, just some names that jump out there. Allen Ollie out of TCU. Sam pointed out, we were talking in the green room, and Sam pointed out this kid played tackle a little bit, but he mainly played right guard, left guard. He started there, and he also played a ton of center. So this is a guy that can come in as a Swiss Army knife, because people said offensive guard was the issue for the Vikings. Okay, well, now you add a guy that can also be your backup center, because we don't know what Austin Schlottman, I don't think he's maybe the long-term solution as a backup. But Allen Ollie out of TCU. TCU had a really good season. Their quarterback was pretty much taken care of this season. So you bring in a center and a guy that also can play guard. This is going to be an interesting training camp for them there. You got Calvin Avery out of Illinois. I'm always a Big Ten guy, D tackle. I think he has a chance to help out this team, but we'll see. And then you had a guy. What was your guy?
Yeah, Andre Carter. Andre Carter, the second from Army, had 15 sacks in 2021. And then I think he dealt with some injury issues last year. Wasn't quite as productive, had 4 sacks last year, but 6'6", 256, big, kind of lanky edge rusher from Army. I think that'd be a nice little project for the Vikings defensive line coach.
Yeah, those are gonna be some good picks to look for, undrafted guys to take a look at during training camp. We're definitely gonna. I'm looking forward to it now. We got a while, so I don't want to get over anxious about training camp. We will talk about the roster though, as it's formed right now with the free agents they have, what possible trades could come, because there's still time to trade before training camp starts. There's time to trade during training camp. We know that. We've seen guys line up for training camp or not show up for training camp. Like, look, I'm not showing up till you trade me because I don't want to get hurt at your camp. Because if I get hurt, then like we're screwed. And for the team, they're like, look, we don't want you to come, because we can't trade you if you come out here and get hurt, because now we're screwed. Nobody wants a hurt person, on a trade, even though you're going to get healthy. But we're going to be back after this, man. We got a word from our sponsors. Remember, you can download Locked On Sports Minnesota's app on Amazon Fire now and Roku. You can get all the videos, all the shows right there on your TV. Just go to your TV device, Amazon Fire or Roku. Just search in your apps, search Locked On Sports. And when you put in Locked On Sports, you'll see Minnesota probably is going to, in your region, it's going to probably pop up first, but just look for Locked On Sports Minnesota. Hit that subscribe or download, whatever your system says, button. It'll download right there. It'll be a square right there on your TV for whatever device you have. You get all of our videos, all of our shows. And we have a word from our sponsors.
We're brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Yes, make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs. Right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet, up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. That's why FanDuel is so great. They've got great promotions all the time. You sign up, you might have a deposit match. There might be a booster where the odds get boosted. They've just got some fantastic promotions at FanDuel. Check those out. It's a safe and secure app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. And when you win, you get paid instantly. No better place to bet the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel.com/lockedon. No sweat first bet, up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Well, we're back, Sam, and we have to talk about quickly. We'll talk about a little bit of the Wild, the Wolves. Wolves are done. Wild are done. So now it's time to focus on the Twins and the NFL as well, because that's all we have left now. We have baseball and we have the NFL talk. Like, it's going to be draft talk for the rest of the week. But Sam, here's where I go with the Wild and the Wolves. Yeah. I don't know what it's going to take for them to get it done ever. I feel like, like Jimmy Butler, they're an 8th seed with the Heat, and they won, and they're up 1 on the Knicks. And the Knicks are 0-7 after losing game 1 in any playoff series. 0-7. 7 times they went down the first game, and they could not climb back. It's not a good sign for the Knicks. That means the Heat might be in the Eastern Conference Finals as an 8th seed. And at that point, they probably could go to the NBA championship when you think about who's left. The Bucks got knocked off. So that was my favorite. I thought the Bucks were coming out of there. 76ers, we'll see what they look like in their coming up game. But I feel like the Heat, which I've never even thought anybody would say, as a favorite, as an 8th seed. Like, they're a betting favorite right now as an 8th seed, because people are like, the Knicks are gonna do what the Knicks always do, and they're gonna disappear. And the New York media, after everybody loved them, they're gonna hate them and talk crap about them, and they're not gonna talk about greatness of Jimmy Butler. But I don't understand why the Timberwolves couldn't do that. Like Jimmy Butler. I think Anthony Edwards is just as good as him. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like Anthony Edwards has what Jimmy Butler has. So what is it about Jimmy Butler that will that team? Is it the rest of the team? Is it the coach and Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley? Like, are we looking at a front office issue and a scheme issue with how this team has been handled over the last couple of years? I just don't know, Sam. And then I saw the Seattle Kraken beat the Avalanche. The Avalanche were the favorites, right?
The Avs were the division champs, defending Stanley Cup champs. And this is the worst part, Ron. The Wild would have played the Kraken and had home ice. The Wild could have played and been favorites in the second round against the Kraken. That's just the icing on the cake of a disappointment sandwich.
Oh, my goodness. That's just like putting an extra little nail in the coffin, a little needle into the sides of the people. And the mission Monday for the Wild and the Wolves. They got to figure out who their guys are. I mean, I heard Kaprizov disappeared in the playoffs. They said that was that a Parise thing or a Suter thing in the past? Like, which one of them? Somebody said he pulled his best Suter or Parise impression by disappearing in the playoffs. I don't know which one of them did it for. Yeah,
I always felt like Parise showed up typically.
So Suter was the disappearing act?
Well, he's different because he's not a goal scorer. So
okay.
So the teams that they were on didn't really show up. I don't know if those guys were like at fault necessarily, but you know what? Suter kind of shut down Kaprizov. Suter had a great series, and the fans booed him like crazy, and he got the last laugh.
Some villains need that. Like the Joker, he loves your boos. Like, I love the Joker. Like, the Joker is one of my favorite villains because he appreciates your boos. Like it's just one of those things that happen. And so the mission is a mission Monday. The mission for this team is to find a guy like Jimmy Butler. You can't get Jimmy Butler because he doesn't like you, because you have karl-Anthony Towns. But the mission is to find, like, if Anthony Edwards is the guy, put a team around him that can be like the Denver Nuggets. Like, put a team around him. You don't need two bigs. I personally don't think so. So whichever one you decide to stick with, make it work. Like, I think you can get more trade value for karl-Anthony Towns than you can for Rudy Gobert. Can you get another scorer to be with Rudy Gobert? And because Rudy Gobert with Donovan Mitchell was like a 5 seed with the Jazz in the West. So clearly Rudy Gobert can play well with one guy. Maybe he can't play with another big that kind of clogs up the lane for him. He needs a bunch of scorers that can spread it out. So it's just him down there. Also, so then when they're playing teams, he's kind of I'm the blocker. Like, I know karl-Anthony Towns not going to block or rebound. So that's my role. So maybe his role was confused. I don't know, but it didn't work. They lost to the Lakers. Lakers with D'Angelo Russell, who's playing great. They won. They beat the Grizzlies. Timberwolves couldn't beat the Grizzlies. They need a second. They need a Paul George. Like, they need a secondary scorer. I don't know where they find him, where they get him. I don't know if A-Rod, because now who he is, can get some of these free agents, these big names, to want to come hang out with A-Rod. Now he had it in the bag with J-Lo. Like, you send J-Lo into any free agent's house, they're coming to Minnesota. Like, I don't know what it's going to take to get J-Lo back with A-Rod. I think she's done because she got married to Ben Affleck. But, man, J-Lo could have gotten any recruit. Like, she could have got any free agent. Like, especially, you'll be in my next music video. All right, I'm coming to Minnesota. Like, But yeah, they got to find another scorer. I don't know if these two bigs is the answer. But that's what's very perplexing, I guess, about these teams. That's the mission for them. How do you win? And for the Wild, I don't know, Sam. What do the Wild need to do next year? Because you need to find their mission. Because I'm not a big hockey guy. I know you are. What's the Wild's mission? Like, what do they need to do?
Every year we get to this point, and I think it's going to be different. Like, I think that they're tougher than other years. I think they're more resilient. Last year, that team could just score. They could just flip the switch and they could score. Yeah. This team wasn't quite as explosive. They didn't have Fiala, but they seemed tougher. They added Ryan Reeves. They added these veterans, the Klingberg and Sundqvist and Johansson. They added all these vets at the deadline, and you thought they were like playoff ready, that they were going to go in. They had really these calm, collected vets. They weren't going to be flustered. And then same thing happens. They don't have cap space, Ron. So you talked about Parise and Suter. They are still paying the penalties on those guys' salaries. They're still paying for Parise and Suter. And that is taking up like 20% of their cap space. NHL cap space is much lower. So if you have big numbers on the cap, it restricts you significantly. So they can't really add much to this team that's of great value. So they just got to keep developing. They just got to keep developing younger talent, getting better. The coach might be on the hot seat. I don't think he's going to be gone, but I don't think he's 100% safe because you got to mix something up. And they've melted down 2 straight years in the playoffs because their penalty kill is atrocious. Yeah, and that's a coaching issue. So the Wild are just a big mystery, Ron. It's sad because they're a really fun, really good regular season team, and then this continues to happen.
Yeah, because looking at their special teams, I think that's the key. Like with their special teams, that's one thing I noticed. Like I said the Stars look like they could attack when they were what is it called? They were not at full strength. So they were is that what it is? Just not short-handed. Yeah. So they were short-handed, not at full strength. They were able to still attack every once in a while. Like the Wild would have 5, they had 4, and they were chasing the Stars down the ice. Like what? How? And then when the Wild were short-handed, it seemed like the Stars just had it all worked out. Like they were passing it, they had it set up right. So again, it's a copycat league, but I think in hockey, again, because I don't think there's like plays you can theory. Like I joke about the flying V. Like that's what I understand too in penalty kills. I would love for somebody in a penalty kill, or not penalty kill, sorry, when they have the advantage, to just come down in the flying V. Because it's 4 guys, they gotta wait. They're waiting to help their goalie out. So just come down in the flying V just to do it. Like somebody do that. Just to hit it around to the back guy, like hide the puck, play hide the puck, and then do something like, slap shot it to the goalie. It doesn't ever work. That's the Mighty Ducks. It doesn't actually work. I know you can't. A goalie's not going to make it from deep because he shoots it at 200 miles an hour. I know that. But I love the concept of just trying to play hide the puck for a little bit and then spread out, crisscross. I don't know, people. I don't know what you do because you're not playing man defense in hockey. You have your zone you're covering and you just try to defend your zone. So I do get that. I'm being facetious. I like the Mighty Ducks and I just would love to see somebody do it. Because that would be the best thing ever. And I would tweet that video every time. Like, hey, why does this look at this? They score 1 goal. You should always do this. But anyway, Sam, like when you think about that with the hockey team, with the Wild, you think about the Wolves. It's just another check mark in the history of Minnesota sports and shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Like you look at Kaprizov, Suter. I mean, people can say that. Like, why didn't you find a way to keep Suter? Look what he did to you. He shut you down. He shut your star down. You could have used him. They could have. So the mission for the Wolves and the Wild, got to find a way to get on to the next round. You got to find a way. I don't know what it takes. You clearly both are playoff teams. For the Wolves, too, here's the mission. Don't be the play-in. Get the 6, the 4, the 5. Like, come on. You got you cannot, like, if you're gonna do all this overhaul, now you don't have 5 first-round draft picks for the rest of your life. You got to be a 4, 5, or 6. Like, if you just did all this, like you traded your life away for an 8th, like you traded your life away for an 8th, and you can't wait till LeBron retires to finally beat the Lakers in a play-in. Like, what? You traded your life away for an 8th seed. You didn't trade your life away, and you were an 8th seed. Or what? No, they were 7th seed. Maybe just keep the team you had. Add a star. Add another scorer. Like, I don't know if you needed Gobert. Now, I don't know. You did not need Gobert. I'm sorry. But maybe he can't play with karl-anthony Towns. I don't know what the answer is there, but it didn't work for either of them. But we got the Daily 3 coming up next. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. And remember, we're partner with Care 11. Just go to care11.com/locked on and get all of our videos. Also, wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, download. Just hit the subscribe button when you find Locked On Sports Minnesota, and then you'll get all the Ron Johnson Show updates. But we have a word from our sponsors.
There is still time to subscribe to NFL Draft Buzz, the Luke Inman authored newsletter. Get the full breakdown of the NFL Draft. Subscribe at lockedonpodcast.com/newsletters, lockedonpodcast.com/newsletters. Get all the best draft reaction straight to your inbox for free. Still time to subscribe.
Now, Sam, it's time for the part of the show I love the most is the Daily 3 people. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. I'm going to take a little bit of time, and Sam has a little bit to rebuttal. Take it away, Sam.
All right. The Daily 3 starts with a question about day 3 of the draft. Vikings had 4 picks. You mentioned a couple of them already. Jay Ward, Jaquelin Roy, Jaren Hall, Dwayne McBride. Which of the 4 will have an impact in 2023 as a rookie?
I think Jay Ward. I think that goes without saying. Very, not say simple for me. I think the D tackles are kind of like, not say set. I think we had a pretty good look there, but I think he is going to get a chance to play and Roy. But I just feel like, again, I'm talking about Brian Flores' defense. I'm talking about how the Miami Dolphins became dominant because, when he got it, they weren't good. And then every year they improved. And what did he do? From talking to, Ryan Clark and other guys that know the DB position, Darius Butler, he played aggressive man defense and trusted his guys to keep pressure on the quarterback so he doesn't have 4 seconds. Like if you can make the quarterback throw the ball within 2 seconds, that's not a lot of time for a cornerback to have to cover. Now, when you're able to like sit back in the pocket and look left, look right, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, the best of the best, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, you're going to get picked apart. They're going to pick you apart. But when you make Patrick Mahomes run for his life, when you make Aaron Rodgers scramble, when you get Brock Purdy, whoever the 49ers have coming to US Bank Stadium next year, make him run around a little bit, your DBs have a better shot at keeping the receivers under contain. So I like the Jay Ward pick because he's a Swiss Army knife. He can come in and spell Harry when he's tired. He can come in and spell Cam Bynum. He can also go and cover because he's a fresh out of the college cornerback. So it's like, hey, they put this running back, whoever it might be, in the slot a lot. Like it could be the Lions. I mean, you talk about Jahmyr Gibbs and what they can do with him. They can put him in the slot. The kid can play receiver. Like he can catch the ball. He's like Alvin Kamara. So, and again, with Alvin Kamara, like who do you put on Alvin Kamara? Do you waste a linebacker? You could do Brian Asamoah, but no, you bring in a guy like Jay Ward. He can go cover Alvin Kamara. He also can actually tackle and run support if they decide to motion back and run the ball. So I do like the Jay Ward pick. That's where I'm going to go with that. I don't know, Sam. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that because the Vikings have totally remade the defensive back group. I mean, they cut Dantzler. Mm-hmm. Shannon Sullivan signed with Pittsburgh over the weekend. Peterson is with Pittsburgh. And Duke Shelley's with the Raiders. So everybody's gone. It's a clean slate. You got Evans, you got Booth, the last year's rookies. Now you got Ward and you got Blackman, blanked out there for a second. And then Byron Murphy is obviously your shadow guy, your starter. But there are opportunities there. There are plenty of opportunities for a rookie like Ward to step in and at least be a sub-package guy. I would also say that if the Vikings are moving on from Dalvin Cook, still a big mystery, I think Dwayne McBride can be part of that mix. I mean, he had insane college stats, broke a ton of tackles, yards after contact kind of guy. That's a change of pace back that I would like to have in my team. So I think he could, again, be part of a rotation, assuming that Dalvin Cook moves on or he gets traded at some point here.
Yeah, I think for McBride, when you think about the running back position, the Vikings have, in a tendency, if they're going to run the ball, and we don't know what Kevin O'Connell is going to do, could use him, but who knows where he's going to fit into. He's definitely probably could be a special teams guy, but only time will tell. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm looking forward to it. What you got next, Sam?
All right, question 2, NFC North. Lions had 8 picks. Bears had 10. Packers had 13 picks in the draft. So that's 31 players that got added to the other NFC North teams. What did you think of the Vikings opposition's draft picks in this draft?
Okay, so here's where I go with this. I did like the Bears first round pick, Darnell Wright. I think he's a solid offensive tackle. You look at if you have a guy protecting your quarterback, if Justin Fields is going to be your guy, I think that was a great pick. After that, it was so. We'll see what these guys end up being. I do like the Terrell Smith in the 5th round, of course. Like I said, I think he's a good special teams guy. He's going to be a good 4th, 5th DB on that team. He's smart. He's savvy. He's willing to work, and playing behind a guy doesn't, bother him. You saw him get benched for Benjamin St. Juste in Minnesota. Then he comes back the next year and starts the next couple of years and ends up going to the NFL, get drafted. So I think he's a character guy that is going to fit well with that team. When you look at the Packers, I personally, I think the Packers did exactly what they do when Aaron Rodgers is like, this is why I'm out of here. Now, Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa, I think that's a good pick. He's a guy that's getting up to quarterback. A ton of picks. Jaden Reed. Again, I think another solid pick out of Michigan State. Didn't do a ton at Michigan State, but I think he was a solid player there. But when you think about, the tight end, another weapon for Jordan Love, I mean, that's That's the goal. But could they have gotten some other better pieces possibly to help this offense? Maybe. But again, I think the Packers, when you have that many picks, Sean Clifford, now this is what's funny. Sean Clifford out of Penn State was there forever. Really good quarterback, early on was supposed to be, top 3, round pick guy early in his career. Stuck around maybe because of COVID a little bit longer than he should have, but falls to the 5th round this year. He's a guy, honestly, that could outplay Jordan Love. Now, I don't know Jordan Love. I'm not hating on him. Didn't feel like they were super excited about him. But I feel like Sean Clifford at Penn State, when you look at his body work at Penn State, I've seen him play against the Gophers a bunch. He's the guy that might end up, being that guy. Now, another wide receiver, Wicks out of Virginia. Again, could he be a Romeo Doubs situation there? He might. The Packers have done a good job finding some of these receivers late and then not in the first round. And they end up, other than Devontae Adams, end up being really, helpful to Aaron Rodgers' offense. Now, again, was it Aaron Rodgers? Was it the chicken or the egg? Was Aaron Rodgers the one that made these guys good? We'll find out. Now, the Lions. A lot of picks early on, like you said. Top 100, they had 6 picks from 12 to 96. Jahmyr Gibbs, I thought they could have got him in the second round. Jack Campbell, I don't think he's fast enough, in my opinion, to run with some of these speedy running backs and even tight ends. I mean, these tight ends are getting faster. You got Sam Laporta. I like that pick at tight end. Now, I personally do. I really like Sam Laporta. I had him as one of my top picks. I thought a team, you get him, you get better right away. Deion Branch, safety. Again, another solid pick for them. Hendon Hooker. I think that's the future QB. He's going to be able to sit behind Jared Goff for a couple years, get healthy. And then the D tackle, Broderick Martin, I think that was good. So when I look at and you tell me where you're at, when I look at those grades, I got the Lions, and then I'm going to go potentially Packers, I guess, because they do have a lot of late round picks that are good. And then the Bears Vikings, to me, I don't know. I feel like they're kind of even. But just because the Bears have more picks, I got to go Bears and then Vikings. Like, I think the Vikings draft right now, other than Jordan Addison, because you can't take one pick and say, oh, this is the best pick of the draft. I think it might be, but you got to look at the rest of the class and what they do. And again, we don't know. But right now, I think the Bears and the Vikings draft, they're at the bottom 2 for the NFC North. I don't know. What do you think?
I thought that all 3 of the other drafts were very interesting. The Bears probably did the right thing. They know they're in a slow rebuild. They built up their trenches, right? 3 of their 4 picks in the first 2 days were offensive tackle, defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. The Lions, for having all these picks in the top 100, they did not add a cornerback. They did not add an edge rusher. They did not add a wide receiver. They didn't add a lot of a position of great value with those picks. Now they're good players. Don't get me wrong. They just didn't fortify positions that help you win in the NFL, at a high level, like edge rusher, cornerback, wide receiver. Those are really important. And like I said, they'll probably get some good players out of that. And then the Packers going double tight end in the 2nd and 3rd round, seems a little bit redundant to me, Ron. Mm-hmm. I don't know what you think about that, but when you take a tight end in the 2nd round, you would like to spread that out a bit, I feel like, and add your defense, select an offensive lineman. Of 13 picks, Ron, they didn't find one for an offensive lineman. So I just thought they all did kind of peculiar things. And but they'll find good 31 picks. That's the thing with quantity, you're bound to stumble upon some gems. And right. The Vikings have less of a chance to do that with only 6 picks. You really got to nail it when you have one, when you only have 6.
Yeah, it's like the NBA draft. Whoever has the most ping pong balls has the biggest chance of finding a diamond in the rough or a gem or the best pick. When you have 6, you kind of got to make some very strategic moves. But yeah, what you got next? What's the last one?
Last one. Were you surprised that there was no trade involving Dalvin Cook or Za'Darius Smith, who've been kind of in this weird gray area now going on a couple months?
No, I wasn't surprised. The problem is Za'Darius, I don't think he's going to get you anything higher than a 4th right now. Just where he's at his career, his age, past injury history. For Dalvin Cook, you want a 2nd round pick, but I just don't feel like there's a team that wants to give it away for a running back, because running backs aren't even going in the 2nd round right now. The 1st round running backs this year, everybody's like, whoa, I think you reached. And so to get a second round pick for a running back, now Dalvin Cook is one of the best running backs in the NFL, and you know what you're getting when you like, if you say, hey, I got a second round pick, I could have Dalvin Cook for a second. I think a lot of teams would take it. I just don't know if the Vikings maybe were sold on it. Maybe they wanted more than the second. Maybe they wanted another first, or maybe a second and a first, maybe a second this year and your second next year for Dalvin Cook, and maybe your third next year. Like who knows what the trade capital was for Dalvin Cook, or what he might have wanted. But whatever it was, it didn't happen. So no, I wasn't surprised. I just feel like where those guys are at, they know the Vikings, they could hold the Vikings' feet to the fire. The Vikings like, look, we're not gonna let you bully us into making a move that we don't have to make right now. And I think that's what the Vikings are. I mean, I think they're gonna get through training camp. Maybe a team's top running back goes down and they want to get Dalvin Cook, because the Vikings like, look, we'll give him up because we have Alexander Madison. But yeah, I think it's going to be a training camp situation, or even a preseason situation where maybe a top guy. It happens. Unfortunately, in this game, it happens every year. For Za'Darius, I just don't know, because he wanted to be traded at one point, or at least that's what the rumor was. And so, yeah, we'll see. And even Danielle Hunter, I've heard rumors that he could be traded, but his is more of a contract thing. He just wants more money, because the Instagram, he deleted all of his Instagram pictures of the Vikings, but he actually didn't, because the one picture he has left is him walking to the Viking stadium. So for people trying to say he deleted all his Vikings pictures, he didn't. He actually just deleted his pictures and started over. A lot of young guys and girls, they do that now. That's the thing for kids now. They delete their Instagram and start off with one picture all over again and rebuild their Instagram from scratch. That's the thing, I guess, for kids. I'm old and I don't have time to do that. So I don't do it. Maybe one day I do delete some, but I don't have time to delete all of them. Like, I just don't have time. But maybe one of these trips, my daughter has softball trips coming up. Maybe I'll have some time to do it and do like the cool kids do. But Sam, I don't know. What do you think? Did you think they were going to get traded?
Part of me did. I didn't think the value was super high on either one. I think we're trending now, Ron, toward a June 1. That's the date to circle, because they save more money by cutting both of these players after June 1st. That's just the way that the money works out with these deals. So with Za'Darius, it's 7.1 in savings pre-June 1, 8.7 million in savings post-June 1, and then Dalvin is something like 5.8, and then it becomes 8 or 9. So they could save a few extra million if they cut them June 1st or after. Might be headed that way, because I don't know if they have the cap space to retain them both and sign this draft class. So we'll see. We'll see if they can work out an agreement with Za'Darius. I'd like Za'Darius back. Dalvin feels a little bit more like a foregone conclusion that he's going to move on.
Yeah. I mean, this is why the GMs get paid the big bucks, because they have to make these tough decisions. But that'll do it for us today on the Ron Johnson Show. I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam Ekstrom. And Sam, it was the Lotto. I'll pay it off too for the people that haven't seen it. Go watch All About the Benjamins. It's a great scene. It was his Lotto number, Sam. Mike Epps and All About the Benjamins. He did the whole Lotto deal. If you ever want to play the Lotto, I don't want to give the numbers out, but I'll just give it to you. It was 15, a 30, a 35, a 40, a 45, 47. And he was doing it because the dude was like getting mad at him, like, man, what do you want? He's like, I want Lotto tickets. He was like, man, that's why I don't come around here. And he was arguing with the guy. And then he finally like started singing the Lotto numbers, and the guy was getting pissed off, which is funny too, because now you actually have to fill out the form. That's to show you how old that movie was, back when you used to read your numbers to the person to give you your Lotto ticket. So there it is, Sam. But trust me, if you ever got time, the kids asleep, wife's gone, going All About the Benjamins. It's a good movie. And speaking of Benjamins, like Sam said, the Vikings got to find a way to find some Benjamins to sign these guys, because it's going to cost them a lot. And that's how you tie it into the show, Sam. People are like, where's this coming from? Because this whole show in the Mission Monday was all about the Benjamins. They have to find the Benjamins. But again, I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam Ekstrom. Make sure you subscribe, people. Hit the subscribe button, share, like, talk, tell all your friends about it. And if I hit the Lotto, let your friends know. I'm going to be paying y'all. I don't know how long.
You're going to have a lot of friends coming out of the woodwork.
That's why I wouldn't tell people. Actually, I would never tell people I actually won the Lotto. I don't think I would, because I don't want all these family members that I don't know looking for stuff. I just don't. But that's me. I don't know about you, Sam. But hey, people, it's beautiful. Sun's out. It's windy in Minnesota, but the sun's out. So I want you guys to have a great day.